Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that. But don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Greg Srivasti with CinemAddicts. This is CinemAddicts episode 338. It will be a short episode because Eric Holmes is under the weather as we speak. I think he was supposed to go to work tonight. Hopefully he doesn't have to do that, but he sounded essentially like death warmed over. We tried doing a review of this movie called The Yeti, and we finished the review and it wasn't good because he was sick. He is sick right now. He needs to go to the doctor. He needs maybe antibiotics. Who knows? But hopefully he'll be better no matter what. And he'll be on this episode next week, on the next episode next week. He's also on this episode, however, because for CinemAddicts episode 338, he will have his interview with the Yeti filmmakers, Gallerano and William Pisciotta. I will not be reviewing that movie. I'll be reviewing two other films for this installment, and then I'll get to that in a second. But at the tail end of this episode, you can listen to Eric's interview with the Yeti filmmakers, Gallerano and William Pisciotta. The other movies that are coming out this Friday, April 3rd, 2026, include A Great Awakening and The Stranger. I believe Fantasy Life, a new movie that Bruce Purkey is reviewing for the Cinem-Attic, came out last week in limited release, but that's also technically a newish movie as well. So again, the four movies that are being covered are The Yeti, Fantasy Life, A Great Awakening, and The Stranger. Again, The Yeti is going to be towards the tail end of this episode with the interviews with Gallerano and William Pisciotta. It's an interesting movie. Eric and I gave that movie 3.5 stars in our failed review of The Yeti. And just an interesting movie. Really good creature feature stuff, practical effects. And I think most of you will give it a shot. Hopefully some of you will give it a shot. That is when it hits digital April 10th. Now let's get to the other movies I watched this week. First up is A Great Awakening. This is from, I don't know if they call themselves just Sight and Sound or Sight and Sound Studios. If you've seen the trailer or you've heard anything about A Great Awakening, it looks like a faith-based movie on Christ, the Lord, and it's religion-based. There are faith situations in A Great Awakening. I will say, however, and its primary demographic are Christians or people in the faith, etc., etc. All that said, I found A Great Awakening to be a very universal story. And let me get to the official plot synopsis. So I'll tell you why maybe you guys should give it a shot when it hits theaters starting Friday, April 3rd. Quote, A Great Awakening tells a true story of an unlikely friendship between Reverend George Whitefield, played by Jonathan Blair, and Benjamin Franklin, played by John Paul Sneed, that resulted in one of the most defining moments in American history. With the colonies on the brink of collapse, Whitefield ignites the first Great Awakening, uniting an entire generation with his thundering and faithful sermons and proclamations of liberty. What's interesting is Whitefield's belief system is completely different from Benjamin Franklin. All that said, Benjamin Franklin at the time was a great promoter thanks to his printing press. He found an opportunity in Whitefield being such a great speaker and charming figure, a figure that can probably attract thousands of people to his various, maybe outdoor sermons. And you see a couple of outdoor sermons in A Great Awakening. I don't know what the budget is for this movie, but I'm assuming director Joshua Enck didn't have $100 million or even $60 or $70 million to work with A Great Awakening. All that said, this movie has epic scope, and Jonathan Blair as George Whitefield gives several rousing speeches, and he's very convincing as the Reverend who is on a mission to spread the word of God to anyone who would listen to him. And whether or not you're Christian or you're religious, in my opinion, if you're not, I don't think it should detract from your attraction or interest in A Great Awakening, because also at the heart of this movie is the friendship between Benjamin Franklin and Reverend George Whitfield. I interviewed filmmaker Joshua Enck, and he was saying that a lot of this movie, I think if I recall in the interview, he said 95% of the movie is factual. But so this movie is not just based on hearsay or rumors. It's a very, and the fact-based stuff in this movie, the actual story itself is very, very fascinating because you see two men who are completely diametrically just different come together and listen to each other and learn about each other's motivations. And there are some very interesting and emotionally charged scenes between both of them, especially in the third act. And then you'll see, without giving too much away, you'll see Whitfield's really huge impact on Franklin's life, and then how that in turn impacts us as Americans, U.S. history, how Whitfield's influence on Franklin really helped shape the way the U.S. government, the early days of the Americas, right? The U.S. government. But so very interesting historical stuff. I did not know about this guy, Reverend George Whitfield. So on one level, historical stuff, value added. Never had an idea about this friendship. So that was very interesting watching that relationship unfold. Jonathan Blair as Whitfield and John Paul Sneed as Franklin, they're both excellent in this movie. And there's a couple of sequences in this movie where it has epic scope. And within that breadth of filmmaking, you have some really rousing speeches from George Whitfield. It'll be interesting to see how this movie does this weekend. I hope it does really, really well because it's just a well-made film. And even though, again, I am Catholic, but I was not attracted to this just because of its Christian message, which really isn't forced down one's throat. It really just encapsulates the friendship and the love of these two good friends. And I really just was attracted to A Great Awakening. And it's a very energetic film as well, the way it was shot. And yeah, really enjoyed it. A Great Awakening for me, I'm going to give it, honestly, I'm going to give this movie 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed A Great Awakening. Hopefully some of you guys over at CinemAddicts check it out, give it a shot. Tell me what you think when this Easter weekend. Hopefully some of you out there will give this movie a look and a gander. I don't even know if people use the gander anymore. But yeah, A Great Awakening, 4 out of 5 stars for me. That's my first review. Second, like I said, A Great Awakening, a specified film, but hopefully it will have a wider reach. Second review is another specified film, and do have questions about this film's reach. That doesn't make me not love this movie, though. However, the movie I'm reviewing right now is The Stranger, a film based on the popular, critically acclaimed, revered Albert Camus novel, The Stranger. And here we go. It goes. I'm reading the plot summary right now. Quote, filmmaker Francois Ozon reunites with Benjamin Voisin, Voisin. Voisin. I don't know if I pronounced that name correctly. He is the breakout star of Ozon Summer of '85. Also, previous actors Rebecca Marder, Pierre Lotin, and Swan Arlaud, members, I believe, of Ozon's acting troupe, they come in The Stranger as well. First thing about this movie, if you have no idea about the novel, it's a very short novel. I've been trying to read this book over the years. I had a dog-eared copy years ago, maybe since 2000, and I think for 10 years I was trying to read this small book, but I could never crack it. It's probably because I'm not a really good reader myself, and that's on me. But if you don't know anything about this plot, right here I'm looking at the official plot synopsis. They give away a big thing in this storyline, but I'll just paint broad strokes regarding what this movie is about. There's this guy, Algerian, named Mercer, and he's played by Benjamin Voisin. So he's a very detached, indifferent person. And the story begins with him learning of his mother's death. So what Merceau has to do is he has to take 2 days off from work to travel and see his mom over at the nursing home where she lived. And during his trek, when he gets there, people are noticing and you, the viewer, are noticing that Marceau is just very not connected with people. There are the people who lived in this nursing facility. They're shaking his hand, trying to offer condolences, and although he shakes each of their hands, he is very emotionless. Feels like a very doesn't seem like a cold a-hole, but more of, again, like he's separated from society, just off in his own head. While all this stuff is happening, you just start wondering, who is Marceau? Why is he acting like this? And a lot of this movie, which I believe, I don't have the running time right here, it's almost 2 hours, around 2 hours. And there's going to be a huge section of people, of cinephiles, who will not like The Stranger because of the actual storyline and beats of the movie. It is just a slow moving film. You think of like the Michelangelo Antonioni film La Ventura, or everything is very methodical, and it's visually, number one, it's gorgeous to look at. It's shot in black and white, and you see Marceau just walking through the streets of his neighborhood, and also there are there's a couple of beach sequences which are just breathtaking. And this movie looks like, since it's shot in black and white, it's visually composed beautifully, would be great to watch in the theater as purely an eye-catching experience, especially if you are a huge black and white film fan. Go see The Stranger. Also, prepare yourself, because if you're not familiar with a Camus novel, the storyline is very methodical and not leisurely, slow paced. And a lot of this movie isn't genrefied, meaning there is a murder in the film, and because of that murder, there is a courtroom drama type situation in the movie as well. There's an element to that. There's also Marceau hooks up with a girl he knew from 3 years ago, and they have a little bit of a relationship. They go to a movie theater, and even though he's having sex with her, making out with her, he is attracted to her, he is still somewhat separated from her on a humanity level. So the big mystery is not just what's going to happen regarding the tragedy of a murder that occurred within the story. The mystery is what is going to happen to Marceau, for a guy who feels, does he feel like he's better than everyone else? Is he a narcissist? Is he is he living in an existential point of view, which is very interesting because a lot of people look or think that Albert Camus has an existential bent to his writings, but supposedly, I did thank you AI and Google, he was not a fan of being labeled an existentialist. He was more about absurdism and, I suppose, maybe the random vagaries of life. And that's what The Stranger is really, not just a character driven look, it's more of a psychological and philosophical look at society and the individual. Basically, this absurdism is random things happen to everybody, and no matter what, we are not in control of our own design. The life is very indifferent to each and every one of us, no matter how hard we try. I'm not even making a really good explanation of this absurdism theme behind The Stranger, but good news is, if you're going by yourself and you want to think and let your mind expand at this exploration of the self and man's relationship to society, or maybe there's a spirituality element, religion element that is here as well. I didn't feel it was preachy. I just felt it was a very great and methodical exploration of this man's journey into self. And I think the ultimate compliment I can give The Stranger is, now, after watching this beautifully done movie, I'm gonna go to my local library, borrow The Stranger, and then read it, because the tone of this film is very unique and somber and immersive. And again, I warn you, some people like me will really love the vibe, the flow, and the philosophical discussion behind The Stranger, but so many of you will say, okay, I'm bored out of my skull. These pictures on the screen look really nice. I'm done. I don't want The Stranger at all. That said, The Stranger, it hits theaters April 3rd in New York at the Angelica Film Center and Film at Lincoln Center. I believe I went to Angelica Film Center 30 years ago, back in the day, and really loved that center. I have never been to Film at Lincoln Center over in New York, but I can imagine if you are in that area and want some really interesting filmmaking, go see The Stranger. Also, another plus regarding The Stranger is, in my opinion, no disrespect to Hulu and Netflix and Prime Video and all the streaming services that we all have, this is a very singular cinematic experience. It doesn't have the typical beats that you expect from this type of movie, and I got to give that props as well. April 3rd on those two theaters, aforementioned theaters, and then on April 10th, it expands to LA and other cities. I also want to shout out to Francois Ozon. I don't know much about his work. I haven't seen a lot of his films. I did check out, though, a couple of years ago, this thriller he did called When Fall is Coming. And it's about this grandmother who loves her grandson. Her daughter, she doesn't have a really great relationship with her daughter. And it's a thriller. It's a family drama thriller about this elderly woman who's seemingly nice, and she has a best friend who's I believe, a next door neighbor. And by the end of the movie, you're wondering, is this elderly woman really nice, or is she a huge manipulator? And what's interesting is Ozan gives you, the viewer, a chance to come up with your own endings without feeling like that creative choice was a total cheat or a cop-out. I just really love the subtlety of When Fall is Coming. Obviously, The Stranger, completely different movie with its black and white sheen stylings and also the adaptation of it being a Camus novel. All that said, though, both The Stranger and When Fall is Coming are really wonderful, subtle, singular works that, again, don't have the regular beat of a lot of the movies we see in today's streaming world. So, yeah, love The Stranger. My rating on The Stranger is 4.5 out of 5 stars. All right, so that is it for this installment of CinemAddicts, at least for me. We're going to get to Bruce Purkey. And again, Bruce Purkey has a review of Fantasy Life and 2 rewinds of Primate and Send Help. Spoiler alert, Bruce Purkey's review of Send Help is a minority opinion, and these are the reviews I love to hear. So I don't know how long the Primate and Send Help reviews are. Hopefully he'll dive into both of them a little bit, but he has a really big featured film with Fantasy Life. And then again, stay a little bit afterwards for Eric Holmes' interview with the Yeti filmmakers, Gene Gallerano and William Pisciotta. Thank you guys for supporting us over at CinemAddicts. Our next Patreon for this month, April, is 1980. And for our Patreon in March, I screwed up the years, and that's my fault. This month is 1980. If you are a member of our CinemAddicts Patreon, 1980. Give us some 1980 movie picks. And thank you guys so much for supporting us over here at CinemAddicts. Here is Bruce Purkey over at the CinemAttic.
Welcome to the CinemAttic. Here we are once again talking about new movies as I climb down from the attic where I'm kept by Eric and by proxy Greg watching movies. Once again, I always describe it as what's similar to the Earthbound version of Mystery Science Theater 3000, except they try to make me watch at least theoretically good movies. And unlike Mystery Science Theater, where they're making people watch terrible movies. Anyway, what did I watch this week? Well, I've got a screener for a brand new movie called Fantasy Life. I also caught up, and I'm doing a quick rewind on the newest Sam Raimi movie, Send Help. And I also caught up on another very recent cheeseburger of a movie called Primate. So, let's get to it. First up, we have Fantasy Life. Fantasy Life directed, written by, and starring, or co-starring at least, Matthew Scheer. I did not look up Matthew Scheer's history, but I think Matthew Scheer is pretty new to feature filmmaking. I don't think there's a huge history there, but I could be wrong. Maybe he's done a bunch of things I've known about, and I'm not recognizing it. If that's the case, I apologize, Matthew. I should have known better. All right, so Matthew Scheer here plays Sam. We also have Judd Hirsch briefly in here as Fred, his therapist. Sam's therapist, I should say. Amanda Peet as Diane. You may go, Amanda Peet, boy, she was like a staple of late 90s, early thousands indie, kind of mainstream cinema. She was up and coming starlet sort of person. What's happened to Amanda Peet? Well, it's pertinent for this movie. And then David is Amanda's husband, played by Alessandro Nivola. So, what's the deal? At the very beginning here, we get Sam, and he's fired / leaving his kind of low-level law firm job where he seems to work as a file clerk or something in the basement. And he's obviously got some OCD sort of tendencies, some anxiety tendencies. He's definitely on meds. Like I said, he's got a therapist, and Judd Hirsch, and he's this, I don't know, classic sort of schlubby failure to launch sort of dude. Although he seems to be on his own, he's just one of those guys. Now, this kind of comes from a long history of these sort of movies too, right? I mean, most obviously you could think of Woody Allen and the kind of characters and kind of stories Woody Allen would present. And obviously lots and lots of issues around Woody Allen, the person, but Woody Allen, the films he made, and there's some pretty great ones in there, especially in this kind of subgenre of kind of the nebbish, nerdy, sort of maladjusted dude trying to make his way through interpersonal relationships, and a lot of different people in that world being comedy and drama kind of mixed, and just a lot of interacting between different characters. Similarly, recently, you got someone like Cooper Raiff making Cha-Cha Real Smooth and S-House. He also is going along a similar line. Or you could even say someone, Sorry Baby, I forgot her name, she's so good. Sorry Baby, she plays the other side, gender-wise, of that equation, where you just got to get these characters that are somewhat maladjusted in the world for some reason, and watching them survive in this world, and you just the fun, if there is fun to be had, and the interesting entertainment value is pretty much in the interpersonal relationships and character relationships more than it is a high-level plot. But what is the plot per se here? Well, the basic idea is you can get from the beginning he's adrift. He's adrift in his personal journey as a human in the world, and just in the world in general. And through the therapist, he gets a gig to babysit the kids of this rich couple that are played by Amanda Peet and what was the name again? Alessandro Nivola, David and Diane. He meets them briefly, and he immediately recognizes Diane because the real actor, Amanda Peet, she also was a somewhat known actor, especially in the thousands, and at this point she doesn't really work anymore. She's trying to revive her career, but she's mostly a mid-level, lower-level, kind of known actor who now is just having to deal with the idea that she's getting older and she's not really famous anymore. But there are people who will certainly recognize her. And in fact, Sam here, he recognizes her as well. So he's a little starstruck, but he also is just doing this job, and he's nervous to take care of these three girls on a babysitting gig for the night. Now, I got to describe the dad a little bit. The David, he is your classic rich dude going through a midlife crisis, because when we meet him, he's getting gigs, he's playing in bands, but you don't get the idea. He's not a famous musician, but he'll like name drop the band he's with, and you're like, who is that band? So he's like playing in a band that maybe is like the fifth generation band that people knew 30 years or 20 years ago, and now they're just touring the circuit where, you know, the people who knew them love them, but newer generations don't know who they are. And he's playing as a non-original member of those bands. So he's kind of a journeyman musician, but it's taking away from his family, and he's trying to keep his spark alive as a a famous musician, that kind of musician lifestyle. So to some degree, both parents are, I guess, trying to hang on to their youth in various ways, but David is doing it a lot more strenuously than Diane is. Diane seems to be coming to terms with the fact that she maybe just isn't going to be famous ever again. So David was there, you get to get the babysitting gig, and very quickly this transforms into almost like unofficially, Sam just becomes a Manny for the family. And the way they make this happen is the movie's presented in the same way as there was a movie a while back, or a movie called The Four Seasons, where you dipped into these characters' lives in all 4 seasons of the year. Or even Steel Magnolias does that a little bit. Steel Magnolias revolves around all the different major holidays of the year. Similarly, we have a fall section, a spring section, a summer section, a winter section, so on and so forth. And that way, you'll just get time has passed, and you'll see, oh, Sam is now literally a nanny for this family, so on and so forth. And it's just a neat device to basically not explain how things have got to where they are, but to be in the newer, expanded relationship situation at that point. So how does this work? It works mostly around the friendship relationship and possibly romantic relationship between Diane and Sam. Because like I said, Sam is this very mild-mannered, very neurotic, but seemingly super sweet and a non-threatening dude. And of course, Diane, being this aging actress, she's still quite beautiful. She's very alluring to him as someone who's just way out of his league, but as someone who also, in her own right, is very sad and very lonely and abandoned by her husband, and also dealing with her own just emotional issues and just dealing with her ideas of becoming an older woman and not being as relevant in her world of acting anymore, and how she's getting some of that feedback from Sam that she probably craves. This idea that she's just alluring and interesting and fascinating and someone to obsess over. And in some hands, you could imagine this movie being like a stalker movie, but it never plays off like that. It plays much more to mildly broken characters. These aren't super broken characters. These aren't super destructive characters. These are perfect people that can generally survive in their world. They're not hurting people in their world. They're not just burning their own lives down. But they are very quietly self-sabotaging themselves and clinging to things that may or may not be healthy to them. And there's a lot of humor here too. I want to put that up. This isn't just this big heavy drama. It is not at all. It's mostly just lightly humorous, and it's very easy to fall into these characters in these various segments of the movie and just wonder and root for them. You kind of root for both characters. Even Sam, you root for him, even though in your heart, like him having any sort of a romantic relationship with a married woman and a mother of 3 kids who is this actor is not going to probably go anywhere that he wants it to go. You're still rooting for him because he's such a schlub and he's such a sad sack and he's so sadly sweet and all this kind of stuff that it makes you want to hope for some good things to happen to him. And likewise, you want some good things to happen to her too, because she doesn't appear to be doing anything wrong, and Dad definitely seems to be pretty much out of the picture and not doing a whole lot in the family. So if that sounds interesting to you in a character standpoint, I think you'll enjoy this movie. And I think the main 2 characters, played by Matthew Scheer and by Amanda Peet, are the core of this movie. If they work really well, I think you're going to like the movie. And if they don't work really well, you're not going to like it. I think they work really, really well. I think Sam, of course, he's playing the guy doing Sam is a triple threat. Matthew Scheer is acting, directing, and writing this thing, so it's his baby. And he's effective in the role. And sometimes I see these things, I'm like, well, could you have just got an actor that did a really good job for you? But no, he does a really good job here, and I think he's perfect for this role. I don't know if he'd be perfect for everything he writes, but he's perfect for this role. Probably there's some elements of autobiography here as well. And Amanda Peet, to me, is the true revelation. For me, when she was around in the spotlight, per se, to me, she was always forgetful. She was always kind of the second version of a more hot career-wise and up-and-coming and big star of the time. She was always kind of that one, who is that one? Oh, that's Amanda Peet. Oh, yeah, she was in this movie, and she was in that movie. She's been in some famous movies, but she always was kind of a little bit like just recognizable, but a little bit like forgettable somewhat. To me, I mean, some people I'm sure love her as well. But here she is just fantastic. And she has the perfect level of kind of pathos and world weariness. And you get the humor from her too. And she's also she's not a mean or pompous person at all. She's really way more down to earth than you expect her to be, which is of course one of the reasons Sam will fall for her too. Because at one point they just sitting down watching Battlestar Galactica together because they both are talking about how it'll help you when you're depressed or something or feeling down. So I guess you throw around a word like charming and it would really fit with this movie. And I guess the last thing you'd wonder is, well, is this going to be a romance? Like, how is this going to work out? And I think that what this movie does that's strong, I'm not going to spoil things, but what it does that's strong is it deals with both sides of that relationship in, for me, what feels like a really realistic way. And things aren't going to play out in a fantasy version. And of course, it's called Fantasy Life, right? So you could easily imagine a version of this where Sam just ends up with the girl and it's perfect and he made it and his great, awesome self being unpompous and unpretentious and unselfish. He wins her over and he becomes the de facto dad. Now that would be very unsatisfying, I think, to some degree, because that would just be so Fantasy Life. But that's kind of, I think, what he imagines is going to happen for him. And of course, on her side, there's a certain path that could happen as well. I think the way it plays out, even with some broad humor moments in the third and fourth act, I think it still really works and resonates and eventually gets to some real kind of emotional discoveries for both the Sam and Diane character. I think just an adonomy, Sam and Diane, that's the names of the characters in Cheers. I wonder if that was intentional. Anyway, I think the resolution, or the kind of the quiet resolution that occurs between the two characters is very satisfying to me emotionally, because it's more like the grown-up ending that a movie like this needs to have, as opposed to the I'm a 20-year-old, this is the ending I want to see ending. It's much more of an ending, I think, that's deeply emotionally resonant and satisfying. I think it ends up in the perfect place. I'm not going to talk about the ending. I know we will do spoilers in the upcoming future here on certain movies. I don't think this is a movie that really is a big spoiler kind of movie. If you imagine if you're watching something like, hey, did you watch Annie Hall? I'm going to spoil it for you. It's not really that kind of a movie. This is a movie where if you get into the relationships between the characters and the characters themselves, you're going to enjoy the movie. Now, if I watch another movie, I don't know, Avengers Endgame, a spoiler might be more pertinent to talk about. So I'm going to go 4 or 4.5. This is a really good movie. I think if you like this kind of movie, this is a really good version of this kind of movie. So I'm going to go 4.5 stars for Fantasy Life. I'm going higher than I thought I would go. I think Fantasy Life is really good. And hopefully it will catch some audiences out there. It's a hard sell for kind of middle America, but if you are missing acceptable versions of what Woody Allen used to throw down to some degree, I think this is maybe somewhere you can go to get that. All right. Real quick, I'm going to give you kind of some quick reactions of a couple, like one of cheeseburger movies that I watched recently. I was in the mood this week for some reason just to watch some junk food movies. Just something I want to get something dumb and fun and big and stupid to watch and just have a good time with them. Unfortunately, I was let down by both because they didn't quite give me what I wanted. But for most people, they're giving them what they want. So first up is Send Help. I know Greg and Eric, I think both 5-starred this movie, which is, I'm sad to say I could not do that with this movie. I expected, as a Sam Raimi movie, being marketed as going back to his gory, streamlined, horror-esque roots, crazy, over-the-top, kind of cartoonish. I was like, yes, it's been a while since we had anything like that from him. I mean, the last one we had that was along those lines was Drag Me to Hell. Now, Drag Me to Hell I enjoyed a fair amount when I saw it the first time, but seeing it again fairly recently, it didn't really work for me, and I don't know why. Partly because it was just, I don't know, it just didn't really hit the spot for me. And of course, I love the original Evil Dead movies. I love A Simple Plan. I love a lot of his early stuff, and even some of the first 2 Spider-Man movies, although dated in the effects department, are still a lot of fun and really a template of how to do a good superhero comic book movie, even more than superhero comic book movie. They feel like comic book movies, which there's a lot to be had there. Darkman, that's another great kind of early comic book movie kind of a thing he did that was a lot of fun. And when I heard the basic concept of this, I thought, oh, Send Help was going to be it's at least going to be fun for me. And I think for most people, that's how it's hitting them as fun and a little crazy, gory comedy with just a lot of fun to be had. And for whatever reason, it doesn't quite hit me that way. And I guess I'm going to tell you why. So if maybe you're more in my mindset, you might not want to see it. But I would say 80 or 90% people are loving this. So I'm really on the outside on the reaction to Send Help. But either way, you've got Linda Little, played by Rachel McAdams, and you got Bradley, played by Dylan O'Brien, and a bunch of other people. But they're the basic two you need to know. He's the super a-hole, super misogynistic, cartoonishly terrible boss that has got the position that she earned because she, as the mousy, awkward, very competent but overlooked person in the office, keeps getting leapt over for positions of authority that she honestly deserves and she feels like she should get, and it's just frustrating her more and more in life. Anyway, she's forced on a corporate trip, and the plane on the corporate trip crashes, and there's kind of a cartoonish, violent scene of the plane crashing, which is relatively fun. And then, of course, she washes ashore along with the a-hole boss. So the basic situation is, and once again, I keep saying the word cartoonish. It's intentionally so, almost a cartoon in the sense of Roadrunner and Coyote, the thing, Wile E. Coyote, where the two of them are at each other the whole time. She is a huge fan of Survivor, so she can do all the survival stuff immediately. And of course, he is absolutely useless in that environment because he's just a smarmy, a-hole, misogynist businessman that's failed his way to the top through friendships and relationships, as opposed to someone who's actually competent and knows what to do, like herself. So they've presented that into the kind of a Survivor-esque kind of a world here, where, like I said, you expect this really cartoonish kind of battle of wills between the two, where she has all the skills and all the know-how, but he's got the ability or the desire to use his conniving ways to still get the upper hand over her. Now, I might throw a few spoilers in here, so if you haven't seen it and it sounds interesting to you, you probably are going to enjoy it. So you probably are not going to have the response I had. But I think for me, what really rubbed me the wrong way was, in a movie like this, I want it to be, it was going to be cartoonish, over the top, and just crazy, kind of gory, humorous, like a battle of good versus evil kind of a thing. I want it to be super basic as far as the characters go. So a lot of what people are touting about what's cool about this is there's this, subverting of expectations in that the Linda Little character you originally think is just going to be this, like I said, mousy, put upon, unconfident, but really competent person that you're going to root for because she's the little guy and everyone's craps on her and treats her terrible, but she's the one that really does what she needs to do, and she should be the one making it. So in this new situation, you're going to be like rooting for her. But the thing is, then they put all the stuff in, basically shows her as possibly being a murderer of her first husband. She's sadistic. She's almost, by the end of it, she's more the main character in Misery. What was her name? Oh, I forget the name of the character in Misery, played by Kathy Bates. But she's more like that, where she's almost shown as being unhinged and cruel and sadistic. So then it becomes like, well, now they're getting more complex with these characters. And this is a situation where I don't want the characters to be complex. I want her to be the little person that we want to root for, and we deserve to see all the bad things happen to him because she is just surviving and trying to beat him at his own game, and she's going to surmount the odds with her knowledge and her ability to be better at everything than he is, truly and deeply, and that he has to come to terms with that. And it didn't do that. It made it that she was also a terrible person. And I was like, well, that doesn't make this any fun. Now I'm just watching a terrible person hurt another terrible person, which has its place and can be a good movie. It's not what I want from this movie. It was not the movie I wanted it to be. So once again, I guess for most people, it is the movie they wanted to see. Now, that would be enough to bring it down to, 3 stars or something for me. But the other thing that didn't work for me in this is the presentation. This is a cartoonish movie. I get that. But I hated the look of the movie. It was just this kind of glossy, overly bright, and I hate muted, overly muted gray, blue movies, like that kind of early thousands look. I like colorful movies. And this movie should be colorful, but it's this kind of flat sheen that makes me think that the whole movie is green screen and CGI. It just feels like that in here. And sure, it may be a bunch of real sets, but it did not feel like real to me. It felt just overly, like I said, flattened and like smooth. All the edges are smoothed over, and all the CGI in here really annoyed me. There's the CGI wild boar. There's a lot of CGI blood and vomit, and some of it might be practical, but most of it is just hazy, middle of the road, forgettable CGI. And God, if there's any movie and any director that should be using some practical effects, it is Sam Raimi, if he's trying to go back to his roots. Now, I know that Sam Raimi has been a huge CGI dude since Spider-Man, but I think it's always been to his detriment. Always. He is more creative and more, I think the comedy beats work better when he has weird practical stuff to go off of. I think his just action and all the stuff works better when he has actual practical things there. There's something about him creating it here in this manicured CGI kind of sheen universe that just to me does not work. To me, doesn't work. And I hate the score. It was a Danny Elfman score. Once again, it was way too big and jaunty for this movie. This movie just needed to be meaner and leaner and grimier and grittier. It's a different movie. I don't care. I would have liked it better. And we need to have a cartoonishly bad guy, which he was pretty much, and a cartoonishly nerdy and good hero. And that was the biggest flaw of this. The actors did fine with what they were given. What they were given was crap. So I did not send help. It actually angered me, mostly because all the people involved were so great and they had all the ability in the world to make this a fantastic movie. And yet I got this. So Send Help, 1.5 stars for me. It went from not being very good to angering me. And also it's 2 hours long. Absolutely unnecessary to be 2 hours long. Okay, 1.5 stars. I did not send help. I am the lone voice of anger in the wilderness on this one, but I think it's going to age terribly. I don't think, well, if nothing else, I don't think people are going to look back in this movie and go, oh, I loved that movie. I think most people are going to look back in this movie like, oh yeah, that was a movie. It was all right. I think that's going to be the general response to people. Anyway, next one I wanted to watch a dumb, stupid killer monkey / ape movie with my son, and Primate is on Paramount Plus now. So Primate is directed by Johannes Roberts, which I think he did 47 Meters Down. That's about all I know them from. It promised to be just, you see on the previews, there's, all you know is there's a bunch of kids or teenagers or young adults in a house with a super smart ape of some sort that's a pet. And he's got one of those like see and say kind of things, but it's made specifically for the monkey. I'm going to keep calling it a monkey because whatever, we know what we mean. For the monkey to communicate with by hitting little symbols on it, like a see and say kind of a thing. So if he hits it, it'll say, Danny, bad, run, you, kill, that kind of stuff. So they can use it for like really silly moments in the movie to make the crazed monkey like communicate evil deeds, and that's the kind of stuff they showed in the preview. And I thought this got all the hallmark of a really good dumb movie, just stupid dumb fun of a movie of a killer monkey running around doing stuff. So my kid and I decided let's gonna watch this together. This will be a fun dad-son stupid movie night. So we watched Primate. I did not write down all the names of the actors because they are almost interchangeable. There's 4 girls here, 2 are sisters and 2 others are friends, and they're all coming over to the sisters' house, which is this impossibly lavish and expensive cliffside mansion in Hawaii that probably would cost you like, I don't know, $10 million or something ridiculous. And they're all going to have there and hang out there for a few days while dad goes off to do a book signing because dad's this famous monkey dude. They have a pet chimpanzee, and you are thinking like, well, this pet chimpanzee is going to lose its mind and become the super malevolent killing monkey. And this is the first kind of disappointment in this movie was that, okay, that's a fine concept. You don't need a reason, just make the monkey mean. You can full quote that, just make the monkey mean. We don't care why. We know that's going to be dumb to start with. We're here for the dumb. Instead, they decide to make it kind of Cujo. They make it get bit by a rabid mongoose, I guess it was. So it's rabid, so it's just doing it because it's rabid, which that to me was right out of the gate like a bad choice. Because a movie like this is going to be more fun if the monkey is turning evil for some personality reason, like he's jealous or it would be much more funny and much more entertaining to see him using his communications to be like angry because like maybe the sisters who used to love him, like kind of like a Toy Story kind of thing, the sisters who used to love him are now paying attention to a boyfriend or paying attention to their friends and not him, and he's slowly getting angry and angrier, and then he like snaps and becomes crazy monkey. But instead it's just like he got bit and he's rabid. Okay, I might throw some spoilers in here too, so if you don't want to get spoiled and you want to watch a dumb monkey movie, it's okay, but it's not what you probably would 100% hope for. So anyway, they get a dumb reason for them all to show up there. Oh, the one actor I will mention, Troy Kotsur, is the dad. He is now the go-to awesome dad in all movies, in Coda, and recently we saw him in Cold Light, if I remember the name of the title correctly. He was great in that. Here he's pretty much thrown away. He is essentially like the dad in Gremlins, where he's at a conference or in this case, a book signing for most of the movie, only to appear at the end when things have already gone off the rails and to try to help at the last minute. So what good is there to have in this movie? There are definitely some good gory kills, and I'm very appreciative it was not PG-13. So you do get some moments where the monkey will like rip someone's lower jaw off. I think that was one of my favorite moments in the movie, where he rips someone's lower jaw off and then kills them. And then he's like a monkey would do. He's looking at the jaw and like trying to put it to his own mouth and then trying to put it to the mouth of the guy he just ripped it off of, like curious and stuff. That kind of stuff, like playing with the gore in a way that kind of works with actual monkey behavior. I really appreciated that kind of thing. Now, there should have been more of that. There's definitely a lot of head trauma here, and the gore, I would say the gore overall is decent, but pretty quick and pretty abrupt and not as fun as it could have been. I think this is the movie where this is what you're here for. It's like a Friday the 13th movie or any other slasher monster movie. You're here for the stupid teenagers getting killed in creative and gory ways. So this movie, I would say, was like middle to lower on that category, but at least it had some. But what did hurt it in that category a lot was the lighting in this movie. Now, this movie, unlike Send Help, which I was just talking about, which was almost overly bright and shiny and fuzzed out and blurred on the edges, this movie is way too dark. And my kid and I were laughing about it throughout the movie. I kept saying, turn on the lights. And he's like, they did, Dad, didn't you notice? Because he contended that at one point you see a person walking through this dark, crazy mansion, which why would you when there's a killer monkey on the loose? But he's walking through the mansion and one of the people turns on the light, and then the light goes from like dark to very, very dim, still very dark, and still very blue and blue-gray. Like, the whole movie is so dark you can barely make out what's going on through a whole bunch of it, which once again is the hallmark, especially in a mid-low budget monster movie with various levels of CGI. I think lots of CGI. In those kind of movies, that's generally the hallmark of them trying to hide questionable effects. But that was a mistake in this movie. A mistake. It should have been bright. It should have been well lit. Because you know what? This is something where I don't care if it's CGI. I don't care if it's bad effects, because I'm there for the bad effects. I'm there for it to be a dumb monster movie. So a bad effect just makes the dumb more fun. You know what I mean? And there's a combination here. There's some practicals too. I don't really care. Once you watch something like this, you want a level of just show me the dumbness, show me the terrible monkey effects, show me all that stuff. I want to see it because I'm here for the craziness and I'm here for the ineptitude to some degree. I want to have just a good, dumb, fun time. And it gave it to me sometimes, but it didn't give it to me enough. So did we have a good time with it? It was an okay time with it, but a lot of it was created by me and my son just yelling at the screen because things weren't happening the way we wanted them to happen. And not in a way that it should be. It should be yelling at the dumb characters doing the wrong choices. That's what you want to do in a movie like this. Like, why are you going down that hall? Why are you doing this? There was some of that. And every time that happened, we had a good time. Every time it was just like, I can't tell what's going on. Can you tell what that is? I don't know. I think there's a monkey in there somewhere. And I think he's going to kill somebody. But I'm not sure what's happening. So, unfortunately, I can only go 2.5 for Primate. It's on streaming. You don't have to look very far to find it. If you're in the mood for that kind of thing, sure, go for it. But there's definitely a lot better things in that sort of category that you can watch. For example, was it last year, Dangerous Animals, I think it was called? Not quite the same thing, but it fits in that same category. And that was a really fun movie and really entertaining and really satisfying, and probably about the same budget, if not lower. You can go find that movie and have a great time. This movie, I don't know. I'd rather watch any Jurassic Park movie for more dumb funness to watch. Even the second Jurassic World movie where they're in the haunted house at the end, I probably would have more fun rewatching that movie for how terrible it was than the kind of bland middle of the roadness of this movie. So 2.5 stars for Primate. And that's all I got this week. I know it's kind of disappointing. Sorry, guys. I've been watching, what have I been watching to make up the difference? I'm trying to catch up on some Netflix things, but I can't talk about them yet because they're not like going to be huge movies. Don't worry or anything. But there's a couple series that are on there that are not out of embargo yet, so I can't really talk about them. But I may be bringing those next couple weeks, and I'm trying to get going on those. Anyway, of the week, Fantasy Life definitely is the best choice. And hey, don't believe me on Send Help because everyone else likes it. What can I say? I think Primate, most people are in the same boat as me. So it's just if you're in a mood for a killer monkey movie, it's just go in knowing what you're going to get. And that's all I got. I will talk to you all later. Thanks for listening. We will have some different things next. I don't even know what we're going to watch next week. I haven't even seen what we have. Oh, last but not least, on the way out, the CinemAddicts Movie Club is still going on. If you're not a member of the CinemAddicts Facebook group, come and join it. It's a really cool community of movie watching people. It is not toxic. It's just a place where people can just share movies they like and talk about movies they like. A lot of times obscure or weird movies get brought up. And the movie club, once again, real casual, created by Mitch Burns. Every week, the group of us who are in there, the next person on the list gets picked. That person picks a movie. Hey, this is the movie we're watching this week. We'll discuss it on Friday and Saturday. The next week it comes around, does the same thing. And in most weeks, I would say like probably 75% of the group gets to that movie, but there's no pressure. Some weeks you just don't have the time. You don't get to the movie. That's okay. The next week, hop back in. And this week I mentioned it because the movie was brought to us by one and only Greg. And Greg from CinemAddicts suggested the movie this week, which was, oh my gosh, a Japanese movie from the late 40s called Late Spring by the director of Tokyo Story. I don't think I've seen any of his movies. Is it Ozu? Do I have his name right? I didn't even look it up. I apologize to the classic movies lovers who see my ignorance, but Late Spring is our movie that we're discussing this week. And great movies and not great movies, just a total variety of movies get watched on that show. Or a total variety of movies we watch on a weekly basis for that club. Everything from recently we watched I have put out the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers from the 70s. We watched, Fantastic Planet. We've watched, oh my gosh, a whole variety of things. So some of them are brand new movies, some of them are just like super big blockbuster movies, and then sometimes they're super obscure art house movies. So you do get a real nice, interesting collection from all the different people that are in the group. So that'd be something that more people want to hop into that. It would be a lot of fun. Talk to you soon, and guys.
I'm here with Gene and Will, writers and directors of the Yeti. I guess I'll start off with I love cryptids, not the documentaries, but I love movies involving them. So I saw Yeti, I'm like, yes, I will. What brought you guys together for this movie?
During the pandemic, I was watching a lot of monster movies, and I noticed that there wasn't enough Yeti movies, which I always thought is the coolest cryptid because of the snow setting, and it's just cool. And so I called Gene, and I was like, we got to make a Yeti movie. He was busy with COVID, making a COVID documentary. I was calling him every day and being like, we got to make a Yeti movie. So 6 years of that, and then we made the movie.
Excellent. And, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was you both wrote this and you both directed it. What's the workflow between the two of you, especially in writing? Because I always get confused when there's a writing team of, okay, move away, I'm taking the keyboard now. No, it's my turn, or how does that go about?
Yeah, so the first couple drafts I wrote by myself, and then Gene came on board and we started co-writing, and I would do like a first vomit draft of it, and then I would send it to him and he would make it better, and then he would send it back to me, and then I would make it better, and then I would send it back to him and he would make it better, and it just went like that until we're like, okay, I think it's in shape to start sending it around.
What's kind of some of the stuff like when you're going back and forth and you're trying to make it better, like it, because artists are always like, oh, it can always be better, but at some point you got to stop. What's the point in your heads, each of you, that you're like, no, this is what we're doing. We're gonna stop making it better and just go for it.
So Gene was
Never stop.
rewriting. Gene was rewriting the day before we were shooting sometimes. So it never really stopped, but there was we worked on it pretty hard for a year. And then we were like, all right, I don't know if I can do it anymore. And then it was just tweaks after that.
And then what's the workload as far as the directing? Because I know, Gene, you actually act in this, give a dynamite performance, so to speak. But how's the workflow work like that? I don't know, just how do you guys go about that?
We take turns doing everything. Gene is very actor oriented. He's an actor, so he would focus on a lot of performances and fine tuning them. And then I would focus more on the world and the cinematography and the production design and kind of the sequences of each scene and how they evolve. And then we just go back and forth. And if there's something that I didn't want to do, I'd be like, Gene, you got to do it.
The only time it ever got dramatic was when we were both looking at the monitor, and we'd be like hands over the monitor looking at him like, what are you looking at? I'm looking at this. What are you looking at? For getting as close as possible and detailed and studying it. And no, we have a really great working relationship. And yeah, I love actors. I mean, I just think they're so exciting and interesting and engaging. And so there's a million things to do on a set and to come out with a good frame of a movie. And there's an endless checklist to do, and you're relying on a lot of people, and it's really helpful to be able to be like, Will, what do you think of this costume? Can you do costumes right now? I'm gonna go look at trees. I'm gonna go look at moss samples or something, and I'm gonna go rewrite. I mean, we were rewriting, the night before and stuff. And when you get a great cast, we had Brittany Allen, who is a tremendous actress and so intelligent, and she was the perfect leader for this band Explorers, and she's the perfect leader of this ensemble, and she just helmed the film in such a passionate way. And when you get people like that, they challenge you to try and do your best, and challenge you in terms of they own the characters, they take over them, they know more about them than you do because they're spending all of their time investing in it. And so when you have tremendous actors like that, and it's across the board in our ensemble, but when you have tremendous actors like that, they're constantly challenging you and trying things and asking if they can try it this way or that way, or what if the scene went like this, and so you're constantly balancing those things, and it's all just to try and make the best movie possible. So it's a constant work in progress. I don't think there's one thing we couldn't have. I don't think there's one we couldn't have worked more on. We could have taken as much time as we would have gotten and just kept going endlessly working on stuff and trying to make it better. So there's no shortage of tasks.
What's the casting process like on this? Because I like William Sadler, for example, like he says yes, you say yes because he's just awesome. But did he do read-throughs, or did he just, oh, we got this character and we're calling this person because they're going to crush it? Or like, how did that go?
We looked at a lot of different people, and with Bill Sadler, and Corbin, we were like, these guys would be amazing. If they say yes, we 100% just cast them. If we could get so lucky. And luckily they did both say yes, so we were like, we're doing it. We didn't have them read or anything. We just knew that they were going to be perfect.
No one read for any part. I mean, it was all relationship based on in one capacity or another. I mean, I think maybe a couple of the people that we did, some of the locals just in Buffalo, and realistically they were all so great, they didn't need to read. We just didn't know the locals there. And so once we saw them, we're like, absolutely fit the part. They're exactly who we could imagine. And yeah, I don't think there was anyone who read for a role. It was all just relationship based and talking to them and fitting the right team. that can come together, and everyone brings their all the different components that make them exciting together.
And then also the special effects team, the Yeti looked awesome. So, like, what was the process in getting that? Because, I mean, you could get someone, we'll throw some hair on the tall guy, but whoever you got to do the Yeti did a great job.
Ali Gordon, his team, Wayne Anderson, those guys are creature jefe. And if there wasn't such a thing before, there is now. But they're the creature jefes. They spent 8 or 9 months working on it. And there was a mystery to the process, like great art and like great artists. You don't always get to watch every component of it. They'd go away in the laboratory and come back. But they worked off our ideas and designs and kept throwing things back at us. And Wayne hand sculpted that creature. I mean, it's truly a work of art, and it was built to fit his brother Robert. So it is a one of one. No one else can go inside of that suit either. So we were all in with them no matter what. But yeah, that was great. They were doing they had all kinds of tricks up their sleeves of like special fur that they had to order at this certain time of year, or else there wasn't any left in the factory, and paint and blood. And we kept laughing because one of the early versions came back, and it was so chiseled and cut and lean. Like it might have had a 14 pack, which I can't tell you how many abs a Yeti has, but this one had 12 to 14, and we kept calling it the Brad Pitt Fight Club Yeti, which was cool, but we were like, we need more girth on this thing. This thing needs to look like it lives through winter when it's hulking around and it doesn't move. It's not like a sprinter. It's this thing that kind of lumbers around in a way, or at least our version, gorilla cryptid. And so we talked with them, and we're like, we got to make it bigger. And they're like, bigger. We're like, bigger. And they just kept going after it. But really talented team of people. And that if you look at it up close, it's a terrifying creature.
Well, this movie's fun as hell and bloody, and I love it. And it's playing in AMC theaters on April 4th and 8th, and then digital April 10th. Go watch it in theaters if you can, because it seems like a good midnight movie. Before I let you guys go, I just want to get a film recommendation from each of you, either a movie that's personal to you or a movie that one's really good and no one talks about it.
Mine is always going to be The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. My favorite movie of all time.
Mine's maybe today. My movie is the original Bad News Bears. Have you seen the creature that is Walter Matthau in Bad News Bears? Now that 14 pack of beer, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it looked just like a real human, but a little off, I guess.
Excellent work, though. Excellent creature feature.
But Gene, well, thanks for joining me. Congratulations on the movie, and wish you all the success. And can't wait to see. Who knows? Maybe you guys do a Wendigo next, or a Mananango, what Jersey Devil, whatever you guys want to do. I'm in.
The Jersey Devil, absolutely. Thanks, Eric.